Hi there, my name is Sam, one of the founders of Instant, and in this course we're building this buy box section right here from scratch. It includes a product variant selector for both the size and the different flavors, a dynamic background that changes the color based upon the corresponding product flavor, a single purchase option, and a monthly subscription option where the subscription information is only shown when the monthly subscription option is enabled, a 20% discount that is automatically applied on all the different product variants, and a quantity selector element that's only shown when needed, and that is when the single purchase option is selected. So there's a lot to cover, and let's get started. Here we are with an Instant, and this is what we're going to build. This is our endpoint, and this right here, this will be our starting point. So the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate this text element right here. It's currently connected to the description of this product coming from Shopify. So let's delete this option and fill in our own text, which is volume. Make sure it's bold. And then underneath this text element, we're going to drag in our first product variant option, which in this case is the dropdown. Here it is. There's quite some space between these two elements. That's because there is 24 pixels worth of spacing around to the bottom of this text element. So let's delete that to 0, and there we have it. Then the variant dropdown layer is selected, as you can see right here. And on the right, we can see it's connected to the product option, and in this case, the flavor. However, I want to connect this variant dropdown to the volume. So let's select that. Then we preview, and then you can see we have the different product volumes of this product right here. Next up, let's make sure we add a black border to this variant dropdown. The radius is set to 8, resulting in these nice and round corners, which is what I want. And then there's one more thing that I want to do, and that is change the font and the size of this text. So I want the font to be the Jakarta font, and then size 16. Next up, I'm gonna drag in a row underneath. There we have it. Then I'm gonna make this row white and a black border of 1 and change the radius to 8. There we have it. The space between these two elements is quite small, so to the variant dropdown, let's open up the individual sides of spacing around and add 24 pixels to the bottom. There we have it. And then within this row, we're gonna drag in another product variant, which will be the different flavors, and then also the different purchase plans. So the single purchase and then the subscription option. So before we do that, let's head over to Shopify so I can show you how to set this up correctly within Shopify. So here we are within my Shopify environment. This is the whey protein product that we're working with. And then I've set up the two different variants right here. The flavor with blueberry, strawberry, and vanilla, and then the different volumes, which we have just previewed a couple of seconds ago. Then the variants are set up with their own photos, as you can see right here, and also with the different pricing options. Then underneath, we have the monthly subscription. So with the Shopify native subscription app, I've created a monthly subscription for this product where when you select this monthly subscription option, you get 20% off. And this 20% off discount will be applied to all the different product variants. Important to note is that popular third-party subscription providers such as Skio, Recharge, Bolt, and Yotpo all integrate with the Shopify native subscriptions. Then that's it for the setup. Now let's go back to Instant. Under the insert panel, let's drag in another product variant, which in this case will be the basic product variant. As you can see, the correct product variant flavor in this case is already connected. Then we're gonna go into the individual options, as you can see in the layer panel. Then we're going to set the width to fill, and then we need to make a few changes. I want the default color to be white of these rows. Then I want, of course, a border around them with a radius of 8. And then we should align the text from the center right here. So the text is in the center of the individual options. Then select the correct font, which is this one. The size is set to 16, which is already correct. Then we make these options a little bit bigger by going into the inside spacing settings. And I'm going to change the top and bottom spacing to 10 and the left and right inside spacing from 12 to 20. There we have it. And then the active color of this variant select element is blue. So whatever product variant we select will become blue. So if we preview this, you will see that when we select a different product variant, it will become blue. This is nice, but I want it to become black when it's active. So we select the different options, then we go over to interactions, and right here there is by default an active state. So meaning when it's active, in this case the fill color will change to blue. Let's change that to black, and then we're done. So we preview, and as you can see, whichever product option is now active, it will become black. Then there's not a lot of space, or to be more precise, there's no space between the variant select options and the row that it's placed within. So let's select the main row, as you can see in the layer panel. Then we go over to inside spacing to create some space between the content within this row and the outer edges of the row. So we add 10 pixels worth of inside spacing to the top and bottom and 10 pixels to the left and right. And as you can see, there's now more space between the row and the elements within. Underneath the product variant element, I'm going to drag in another product variant, which is the custom variant picker. Then there's quite some space between these two variant options. That's because within the main row, the gap is set to 32. So let's change that to 12, and there we have it. Then we select the custom variant element and we delete the max width. The width is set to 100%, so it will fill up all the space that is available. Then we delete these price elements. We don't need them right now. And what we're going to do with these two different options is connect them to the selling plan. So the first variant option is selected. Then under interactions, then there is an action active by default. Let's delete that one. We add another action, which in this case is select selling plan. And then we can connect this first variant to the one-time purchase. Then for the other variant option, we do the same thing. So under interactions, we delete the action that is there by default, and then we select the other one, which is the selling plan, and then connect it to delivery every month. Now let's change some of the content in this first variant element, which is single purchase. Then we set the size to 16 and select the correct font, which is this one. And then underneath, I want size 14, the correct font again. And then we type in buy now and experience the difference. Just like with the variant options above, whichever selling plan in this case is active will have a different fill color. I want this to be purple and not blue. So to change that, we select the main variant. Then we go over to interactions. Again, there is an active state, and this active state, so whichever plan is active, will have a different fill color and a different border. For the fill color, I want to add this color right here. And then for the border color, I want to add this color. And then there's one more thing we need to change, which has an active state, and that is this indicator. As you can see, by default, there's an active state. So let's change that and select a different color for the border, which is this one. Now we preview, and as you can see, this option right now, it's active and it has the purple colors that I want. The option underneath still has the default colors, and we'll change that later. First, let's fill in the correct content. So we zoom in a little bit, and this should say monthly subscription. Let's make sure we select the correct size, 16, and then the correct font, which is this one. And then underneath, within this variant option, I want to include more information about the subscription. So to do that, I'm going to drag in another row right within. Make sure it's actually underneath. There it is. We drag in this text element within the row, and then we change this to delivered every single month. Make sure the size is set to 14, and again, the correct font. And then next to this text element, I want to drag in an icon. So in the insert panel, under image, you can find icon. Then these two elements are placed underneath each other. That's because the main row that holds these two elements is set to vertical. Let's change this to horizontal, and they're next to each other. Then we drag this element to the left. It's quite big, so let's change it to 14 by 14 to match the size of the text. Then this main row has a minimum height of 200. Let's delete it. And there's quite some space between these two elements. That's because the gap is set to 32. Let's change that to 8. This looks about right. Then let's also align these two elements from the center. And then we select the icon, and then we search for a check icon, this one right here, and set the correct color. There we go. This column that holds the icon and the description. Let's duplicate it. There we have it. And then this should say cancel at any time. Next up, what I want to do, first of all, quickly preview. As you can see, the active color is still not correct. And then I also want to hide the additional subscription information when the single purchase option is selected, and only showcase that information when this option is selected. So let's first start with the color. So the variant option is selected. We go to interaction, and there we see the active state, which is there by default. And as you can see, whenever it's active, the fill color will change to this color, and there will be another border. So let's fill in the correct colors. This should be the fill color, and then this should be the color for the border right here. Then there's one more color we need to change, and that is the color of the indicator. Indicator is selected, interactions, the active state, and we change the border to the same purple color. Quickly preview, and as you can see, it now has the correct color. Next up, let's hide this information. So the column that contains the icon and the description is selected. Then we go over to the settings, and then we work with conditions. So let's add a condition saying show when, in this case, selling plan is delivery every month, meaning this element will only be shown when the selling plan is delivery every month. Then we select the other column that contains the information, settings, add a condition, show when, selling plan is delivery every month. And now when we preview, the single purchase option is selected. We don't see the additional subscription information. Then we select the monthly subscription, and we do see the information. And this is very, very nice. One last addition to this variant option is another row right here on the left, which will hold the 20% off badge. So let's style this a little bit. We can set the width to a fixed width of 125 pixels and a height of 30 pixels. Then we delete the minimum height that's active on this row. Then we need to make sure there's a radius of 8 to match with the radius of all the other elements. The fill color we set to the purple color we've been using. And then within this row, we drag in another text element. And then this should say 20%. Of course, it's not really visible. Let's select the main row, make sure it's distributed from the center and aligned from the center. Select the text again, make the color white, set the correct size. Well, the size is already correct, 16, then the correct font, and there we have it. Then I also want the color of this badge to change whenever the monthly subscription option is active. So to do that, we select the row that holds the save 20%. We go to interactions and then add an effect called active. And then whenever this option is active, we change the fill color to black. Now let's quickly preview. Now it's purple, it's selected, and it's black. And that's exactly what we want. Next up, underneath this row, as we zoom out a little bit, we will drag in another row. There it is. Then within this row, we add a quantity select element, and we also add a button right here. Just as with the other row, they're placed underneath each other. That's because the direction is set to vertical. Let's change it to horizontal. Then we delete the minimum height. There we go. It's time to zoom in a little bit more. Then for this button right here, let's set the width to fill, so it will fill up all the space that is available. We can change the font, find the right font. There it is. And then next to this text element, I want to have the product price. So under product, we can find price. Let's drag it in. Then it should be on the other side. It's not really visible. So let's quickly change the color of the text. Next to this price, there's the comparison price. Don't need it in this case. We select the price element again. Make sure the size is set to 16. And then we also have the correct font. There we go. Then the weight of this text element is set to medium. Let's also do that for the price element. First distribute from the right, select the price element, and then we set the weight to medium as well. The radius of the button is already set to 8, so that's correct. Now let's change the height of the button to a fixed height of 50 pixels. Then for the quantity select element, let's add a border around the entire element. Then make sure the radius is set to 8. The height is set to 50 to match with the height of the button. And then we delete the fill color right here. It's deleted. There's quite some space between these two elements. So let's change the gap from 32 to 12. This already looks way better. Now let's quickly preview and see if everything works. Everything works nicely. We can create a bit more space around the plus and minus icons. And if set up correctly, whenever we select the monthly subscription, the price also changes because the discount is automatically applied, and it does so. Now let's quickly customize this quantity select element a little bit more. So we add 8 pixels worth of inside spacing to the left and right. We zoom in a little bit. Let's actually delete this gap that exists right here from 12 to 6. This already looks way better. Then I want to create a bit more space between this row that holds the variant select element and the custom variant select element, and the row that holds the quantity select and the add to cart button. To do that, I select this row right here, open the individual sides of spacing around, and add 24 pixels to the bottom. There we have it. This is looking really nice. Then, as mentioned in the introduction of this course, I only want to showcase the quantity select element when needed. And it's only needed when the single purchase option is active. So to accomplish this result, we select the quantity select layer or element from within the canvas. We go over to settings and then we add a condition. And that is show when selling plan is one-time purchase. Meaning when the selling plan is not one-time purchase but the monthly subscription, it will not be shown. Now let's preview. As you can see, the quantity select element is active. We go to monthly subscription and it disappears. And that's exactly what we want. Then there is one more thing that we need to do, and that is make sure that whenever we select a different product variant for the flavors, the background will also change its color. But before we do that, there's one tiny detail I want to change, and that is the gap that exists between the thumbnails is slightly larger than the gap that exists between the main slider and the thumbnails. So we select the product gallery layer, then we go down to gap and we change this to 12, and this already looks better. Now we select the layer in the back. So this blue layer is positioned absolute. And the reason for that is that we don't want the position of this element to interfere with the position of the other elements. For example, the product gallery or all the elements here on the left. So to make sure that this blue color only shows when the blueberry variant is selected, we need to add a condition. So we have the blue layer selected, then we go to settings and we add a condition, and that is show when product option flavor in this case is blueberry. So it will only show when the flavor is blueberry. Let's preview. Then now it's showing. If we select strawberry, it's not showing anymore. So then we duplicate this row. We change the name of this row to red to stay organized. Then we give this row a different color. So under style, fill color, then this should be the red color. There we go. Then under settings, we add the condition, and that is show when product option flavor is strawberry. Now we duplicate this one more time. We call this row yellow. Then under style, we make sure we add the yellow color, which is this color right here. And then under settings, we change the conditional to vanilla. Now when we preview, when we click on strawberry, it should show the red color. When we click on vanilla, it showcases the yellow color. And this is very, very nice. And this also brings us to the end of this course. So I hope you have a good understanding on how to build an advanced buy box like this, including different product variants, single purchase, subscriptions, quantity selectors, and a changing background. So thanks for watching and good luck.